This is a test. This station is conducting a test of the emergency broadcasting system. This is only a test.
Of all these opinions, this is the one that continues to blindside me, dumbfound me, gobsmack me, thunderstrike me.
Blasphemy. Absolute blasphemy.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure,
stay calm.
everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
Welcome to the Fantasy Draft Room. I am Chase. With me, as always, my man Cody. As you see, we got a new intro. You want to tell them about the news?
New intro is not our intro that we're going to be using in the future for the Fantasy Draft Room. We'll switch back, but it is a big day for us. This is the first video we are doing since the release of our first podcast under the Destination Devy platform. The Overreaction podcast will now be dropping every Wednesday. We have linked up with Destination Devy, Ray G, Jay Rich, all of the guys that wake up, all of the other content creators over there, dropping with them all. Huge honor, huge privilege. We've been trying to keep this one under wraps for a couple weeks now. It is out. Go listen to it wherever you can get your podcasts. It was a blast, man. I'm happy to be back on the Fantasy Draft Room, but the Overreaction podcast is going to be just as good too.
Absolutely. Definitely a different form of content since we do a lot of videos over here. We're going to talk a lot of strategy. We'll have different guests. We will have guests on that show talking different things, whether it's best ball lineup, just kind of diving into some different things, thought processes, theories. So definitely check us out, Destination Devy Radio. We will be dropping every Wednesday over there, and that is, again, the Overreaction podcast. But we do have another mock draft in store. But before we do, we also want to let everybody know about a big-time promotion here going on with Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you check out the bottom here. Use promo code TFDR. There will be a link for you to use in the description as well. Use TFDR at description or at sign up, and you will get up to a $100 match on your deposit. And if you do deposit $10 or more, you will get 1 year free access to Destination Devy Discord. Hands down, best place to be in fantasy. Got to check it out. Make sure you use that promo code. Awesome.
You basically get free money here. I mean, you're getting free money on the deposit match and a $10 access to a year of Destination Devy for all of 2023 is much more worth it than just $10 if you choose to do that.
For sure.
I'd say go up to 100 because it's another $100 free that you get to throw in Underdog Fantasy as well. But you can just stick at 10, still get a free year. Absolutely awesome. And you can join the mocks like these where Dynasty Barry is running these mocks. This is actually from one of those mocks that we're going to show you right now. A lot of the other mocks that we show you are from that channel as well. We're doing mocks every single day in there. They've got Devy mocks, got rookie mocks popping right now up until the draft. And let's dive into this one, man. Unless you got anything else to plug. It's been a busy week.
No, I mean, let's get things rolling here. We got CJ Stroud at the 101. And this has been a big conversation piece lately in Dynasty, whether it's CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Bijan Robinson. What is the right play? Is it a lot closer now? Would we actually be taking some of these quarterbacks over Bijan Robinson? And it seems like you're going to see it quite a bit. I think you're going to see it a lot more, maybe in 30 to 40% of your leagues, where people are just, they got to lean in and they got to take a quarterback out of need, really.
Yeah, I mean, it could be out of need. Some people might still draft Bijan, though. Even if they do have the need, they're just like, Bijan's the 101. He's been the 101 for 3 years. I can't switch it up. And then, you're looking at their quarterback room, and it's Matthew Stafford and, I was going to go with Baker Mayfield, but he just got a job today, so I can't really do that one, can we? But they might have their starting quarterbacks under lock. Maybe it's Tom Brady. There we go. And you're looking at it like, what else do you have here? How are you going to use Bijan? They don't have a plan for it, but it's still Bijan. I still love Bijan. He's still going to be my 101 in most places, but if the roster construction ain't right, you may have to see it switched up. We did see the trade up from the Panthers as well to take the Bears pick. And so if CJ Stroud goes number 1 overall with all of that draft capital, they did ship off his number 1 asset. But, if they're willing to pay up that high for CJ Stroud, maybe you are as well in your rookie mocks.
Yeah, if there's belief in the NFL, there's going to be belief in the fantasy community. So I'm not going to argue it. I feel like depending on your team situation, you could take any one of those three. For me right now, it is going to be Bijan no matter what. Post draft, before any of these guys set foot on the football field, Bijan Robinson will have the most fantasy value for your roster. So you'll have plenty of opportunity to move him later on. So until they set foot on the field, I feel like that is absolutely the play. But again, can't argue it. I think for me right now, just team dependent. We see the rest of the quarterbacks. This one's a little bit different. We typically see Bijan and the 4 quarterbacks in some order for the top 5. We have JSN here at the 4. Joe Gibbs. We have Jahmyr Gibbs at the 106 and Will Levis at 107. It feels like this is as far as Will Levis should fall. I know people have their concerns, but I think it's crazy for him to fall any lower.
Yeah, I mean, especially, he's got a rushing floor as well that people tend to undervalue too. You will see some places out there having him fall into like the second round. And I think that's crazy land. I don't think you can pass up on what some people were calling possibly the 101. He still could possibly be the 101 in the NFL draft to the Carolina Panthers here. They're floating out that they like all of these quarterbacks. So we'll see what happens. But I think I did actually take JSN here just as a little bit of like a process exercise to see what would happen, where Will Levis would go. I think if this was actually a draft that I was doing today, I probably would have Will Levis there at the 105 for most of my leagues. Wanted to see how far he would fall, and Blitzing Buzzer here picked him up at the 107, but Jahmyr Gibbs was also taking over him as well. Alex Black deciding to go to the running back position over Will Levis too. I think 107 is typically industry-wide. 107, 108 is typically where you'll see Will Levis, though.
And if you think we're crazy because of this, let us know below in the comments. But the idea behind this is the upside of Will Levis, right? Like if he's most likely, he's going to be a top 10 draft pick in the NFL draft. If he goes that high to any team, whether he's the first or fourth quarterback off the board, all that is a sign that these teams believe in him. His upside is there, where he's going to potentially be a top 15 quarterback, where you're going to get a massive return on your value pretty much instantaneously, depending on landing spot, of course. You're not going to necessarily see that with Addison, Charbonnet, Tajay, Jalen Hyatt as we wrap out this first round. And then even the players in the second round, like depending on draft capital, I don't think it really matters. Like Will Levis being a first round top 10 projected quarterback, even if you don't like him, it's really, really hard to pass on the value that is Will Levis. So just some things to think about as you're going through your drafts, and, know your league. That's massively important. Maybe you don't have to. Maybe you are in one of those leagues where they think Will Levis is going to go in the second. If that's the case, I will trade up to the 111, 112 and take Will Levis at the back of the first. No question about it, because I want to make sure I can get that value. So that's our thought process, or my thought process. Anything to add on Will Levis there?
Nope, I don't really got anything more with Will Levis. Just know your league. If the league hates him, you don't have to take him at the 105 like we're going to be showing in a lot of our other mocks. Just do a trade back if you want to do that, or just, take your JSN because your league might be that jaded towards Will Levis where they'll never like him. I think, the quarterback superflex position, if he does anything on the field, like he just doesn't throw for like 50% completion rate and doesn't run for 0 yards, I think the superflex position will eventually work it out to where the stink will come off of Will Levis, but he does have to get out there and at least perform a little bit, I guess. So, yep, I'd still have him at the 105, but perfectly fine, industry-wide going at the 107, 108 as well. I'm not seeing anything too crazy throughout the rest of this first round, though. Tyjae Spears would be the one that's sneaking into the background here at the 111, but this is just kind of where it starts to get to take your guy season, especially with some of the wide receivers that we typically see here in Flowers and Downs kind of falling out after the NFL Combine.
Yeah, I mean, and the big thing here as well, again, Destination Devy, patreon.com/allgas, or use that promo code below to make sure you can get access to it. There are people in there that have connections to the NFL draft. Ray is obviously part of TDN, so he has some insider access and things like that as well. Tyjae Spears has been talked about being the third running back off of the board, or at least being second round draft capital. right? Day 2, maybe early day, or early round 3 pick. So if that's the case, if he's going to be the 3rd or 4th running back off the board, I have a hard time passing on him. I mean, he checked all the boxes. We've seen what he can do as a pass catcher, what his agility looks like. He weighed in. He's over 200 pounds. Yes, he does. He did have, I believe, an ACL tear 3 years ago, but clearly he looks like he's ready to roll. So there's been no red flags for me. I can understand why people would take him up here if the draft capital is there, but I know industry wide, if you're looking at other mock drafts, you're probably not going to see Tajay Spears go this high.
No, he's typically not sneaking up into the first yet. But like I said, man, I don't know. Just a lot of these guys here, it feels very flat in this tier. Everything from like this 111 to kind of like the 2.5 area just feels incredibly flat. So if I can move around in that area, trade out of that area, any of those back end first rounds, probably 110. Not this one, because Zach Charbonnet should have gone higher than the 110. And I love Charbonnet, but 110 through 112, if I want to move out of those picks, throw them into 2024 first round picks, I think that's the way to go, or try to trade back down into the second round, because I just don't see the separation until we see the NFL draft.
Yeah, the draft capital is going to determine a lot for us. Obviously, that's going to be a big key. But as we've talked about before, when you get to this tier of running backs, whether it's Tajay, Kendre, A-Chain, I guess Zach Evans, even Izzy Abanikanda, a lot of these guys are going to go really, really close to each other in the NFL draft. Might be separated by individual picks, maybe 10 picks. So like if they're really close together in the 3rd round, landing spot's going to come into play. Some of these guys may be in situations where they already have 2 running backs and you're like, well, I have no clue how this distribution is going to work out. And that could move them up or drop them down the board based on those types of landing spots. So those are the things to look out for with the separation in this tier. But you're absolutely right. I would flip-flop Charbonnet and Addison, and I would include Addison in this tier. 110 all the way down to the 205, I have absolutely no problem trading up or down in. If I'm at that 110, yeah, give me a 203 and a 24 second. Like if you want to move down just a few spots, you're still going to get a similar caliber player. And then you're going to have that opportunity at an additional dart next year or as a trade piece for your upcoming season when you need to buy something, worth a second. So yeah, 0 arguments there. I'll just kind of go through the rest of this round. We have Abanikanda, Mims, Mayer, Butte, interestingly, Hendon Hooker, Roshan Johnson, and Dalton Kincaid. What stands out to you here?
Booty's definitely got to be the one that's the most standout. I mean, I think we did the one, I forget which one it was that we did doing last week. I believe it was that Butte was going in the 4th. Yeah, and man. So to see him still up here at the 2nd, I know Gump's a big Devy guy. So he's been watching him for a couple of years now. And, maybe he thinks that he can outperform the athleticism concerns. And, he has done it on the field, not at the NFL level, but he's done it in college in the SEC, one of the best teams at the time in the conference. And so, I don't mind it too much, but we'll see if the NFL draft capital still values Keyshawn the way that it used to be back in his sophomore year, whenever he was at LSU. Michael Mayer was also, I haven't seen too many times where the tight ends have just not gone off the board till this late. Michael Mayer still, as of now, until I see these landing spots, probably still going to be my one, just knowing the production that he put out there, even though his athleticism isn't up to snuff with some of these other guys. I think he's just kind of one of those guys who was route technician type, who's just going to win all over the field if used correctly. But it's a little bit difficult as well because we don't define which tight end premium we are playing in some of these. And so some people will just assume that they're playing in a standard flat. Some people will assume that they're playing in a tiered. I typically try to assume that we're just playing in kind of a flat range, and I didn't really like anything else left on the board. So taking my first tight end off the board, Michael Mayer here.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. That's a great value. Even if it is, standard league, I think he is right now at this point, pretty much a unanimous tight end 1. And with the production, I know production profiles from college don't necessarily translate to NFL success, but when you see what he's done on the field, he didn't have an awful combine where, he's not athletic. He's still athletic, just not quite the freak that like Darnell Washington is, right? So still have a lot of belief in Mayer and what he can be. The ones that really stick out to me are Zach Evans being at the 203. there's going to have to be some crazy stuff that would happen for me to consider taking Zach Evans at the 203. I draft capital will have to be there. He's going to have to run at his combine, and he's going to have to run fast, because he came in, we all thought he was 220 in that range. And when he weighed in at 205, that was a concern. So unless there's something that comes out that he was sick and he just got over whatever kind of illness, and that's why he didn't perform, maybe something like that could sway me a little differently, but this feels quite high for Zach Evans. And then Roschon Johnson, good player, lots of buzz around him, but the buzz is that he's going to be a much better NFL player than he is going to be a fantasy contributor. And I think that's the big thing to note. If he's just going to be, a third down blocking type, locker room guy, special teams guy, that's really great for the NFL. He's going to have an opportunity to at least be on the field, but it sounds like he's just going to be limited with those opportunities, which kind of scares me away from him, even though it is the back of the second and he may get draft capital. So where are you at with these guys? Any last things you want to touch on in this round as well?
Yeah, I mean, Zach Evans, actually, as you're talking through that one, I'm actually much more comfortable with Kayshawn at the 2.9 than I am with Zach Evans at the 2.3. My disdain for Zach Evans has been made public on this platform multiple times already. So if you haven't heard that one, go find probably any one of our other videos, and there's probably a little bit of me dogging on Zach Evans in it. Yeah. And then, the Roschon Johnson, I'm not too concerned about the, workload or the type of work that he's going to receive in the NFL. If he does get the draft capital, I think they're going to use him into the running back position. The high turnover rate would still have me in on him. Fair. I think it's really only a positive that he's going to be in on special teams, because it's going to keep him on the field, keep him on the roster. And
yeah,
if he's in on third downs as well, sometimes he is going to be blocking for the drop back pass, but he's going to be on the field and passing down situations too, where he can flood out, get out of the backfield and catch the ball and make things work there. Much better player that was just behind Bijan, actually, who's, taken in the first round by Team Japper here. So gets the Texas boys back together. It is a little bit, I won't say that it's not a concern at all, but I'm just not too worried about it yet.
The one guy I did want to ask you about here, just noticing here, Hendon Hooker, there's been a lot of buzz that he could sneak into the first round of NFL drafts. Let's just say he's a second round draft pick. I know landing spot may matter, but if he's a second round draft pick and he ends up in a situation where there may be some quarterback opportunity for him, whether it's this year or next year, say Tennessee, trying to think, maybe even LA Rams, like maybe if he goes in the second or third round to the LA Rams, where they sound like they want to move on from Stafford, but a situation where you could see him taking over potentially in a year or getting some starts down the stretch. What are you doing with Hendon Hooker? Like, it feels like I would be happy taking him at the back of the second.
Yeah, I think if he's taken in the second, he should be a second round pick regardless. I think there's just a sliding scale when it comes to that. Then it is going to be kind of what you're saying and going through here with landing spot. Does he go to a situation like Atlanta where they now have Ritter and Heineke as the only two quarterbacks ahead of him? I think that's pretty close to a three-way camp battle if that happens. Now, I know Hendon Hooker won't be on the field, but he'll be working in. He could see the field if both of those quarterbacks end up failing at some time in year one. I think he'd slide more back into this range if he is in a place where there's a locked-in starter for year one at least. I mean, truthfully, though, say he goes to the Detroit Lions at the top of the second, and then you're looking at what's Jared Goff's long-term stability. Could Hendon Hooker take over year two in one of the most high-powered offenses that we've seen from the league last year? I think he'd actually go up in that situation. So I think it's just a lot of landing spot dependent for where Hooker goes if he is in that projected second round. If he sneaks into the first, though, I think depending on the spot again, he could sneak into the back of the first as well.
That's what I was just going to ask you. Again, ideal landing spot, gets first round capital because they want that fifth year option. I could see it. You could again, because you talk about that 110 to 205 range being kind of fluid and flat. I would have no issue with it if the right situation, the perfect storm happened. But as of today, yeah, if he's going to be going in that second round, I think back of the second here makes a lot of sense for Mr. Hooker. So as we pull up the third round here, again, more running backs, a lot more running backs. And then we see tight end 3 and 4 with Luke Musgrave and Darnell Washington. Those are the two of the Raz freaks from the weekend who I think both had like a 9.95 and a 9.85. Both of them tore it up. Sean Tucker, Tank Bigsby, Chase Brown. We got Xavier Hutchinson and Ced Tillman in the middle there. Dwayne McBride, Evan Hull, Rashee Rice, Kenny McIntosh, Eric Gray. Feels like this range, all of these players, it's fluid. It's 100% fluid. These are all guys that should go in the third round, but it's going to, a lot of things vary on that draft capital.
I think one of the only guys that we do see here in the third that's sometimes not there, typically a lot higher, and especially a lot higher for some people, would be the Sean Tucker pick here at the 3-1. See him pretty consistently in that second round. So he slips a little bit, not anything far. He's still the first pick in the third, but some people would still have him as their like RB4, RB5 in the class. So definitely lower as it came out in this mock. We just don't know with Tucker. Hopefully we get some sort of testing results here from a Syracuse pro day or something in the near future. But as of right now, we just don't know with Tucker, and it's kind of just slowly dwindled his draft stock a little bit, in my opinion. I think you're right with the tight ends as well. These are the two tight end Raz guys, depending upon what you're looking for, what you need in your league, tight end premium. I think they would be could go anywhere from, like back end of the first to where they're at here, where they're top tier of the third round. So that one's just going to depend on that. The wide receiver that I think I'd highlight here would be Ced Tillman. Just consistently see within the NFL mock circles that he is much higher than what I think we're typically projecting. Yes. I think he dealt a lot with that injury last year because he was very good. I think he was, the 1A2 Jalen Hyatt at times during the beginning of that season for the Tennessee offense. And so I think Ced Tillman could be one that rises a lot once we get post draft. And the running backs, like you said, it's just gonna, who the hell knows?
And I think that's the big thing. We talk about tier breaks in general, right? That 110 to 205. And I feel like the next tier break is rather large because there's so much variance right now as of today. It will change 100%. And this will change quite a bit, but essentially from 2.6 to like 3.5, you could see any of those guys go up or down based on draft capital and landing spot. You could see Sean Tucker at the 2.6. You could see Chase Brown there at the back of the second. Same thing with Tank Bigsby. I mean, we've seen him all the way up there where Zach Evans went. So I feel like it's such a fluid range at this moment that, I don't really want to trade within this tier yet because I think it's going to shrink quite a bit based on that draft capital and landing spot opportunities that we see. So I'm a little more hesitant on trading around this tier right now, whereas that 110 to 2.5, I have no problem making that move today because I do think that tier will stay pretty consistent between now and draft time.
Yeah, and if you want to break down, especially just the running back position within this range right now, it's a lot of guys that could get the capital, but we're recording this on the first day of the league new year, and we've seen a lot of running back signings go down today. Where have any of them gone that seem like a good landing spot? And then you're going to throw in a deep running back class in behind it. I mean, the amount of split backfields that these guys are probably going to be walking into, there's really look around the league and try to find some really good landing spots. There's a couple. And then we're going to have 15 running backs off the board here within the first 3 rounds. A lot of these guys are just going to be in timeshares fighting to even maybe see the field by week 4 outside of injuries for a lot of these guys. So I think this round could get severely devalued once we get post NFL draft.
And this is not a knock on the class as a whole. They are good players. This is a deep class, but there is a deep free agency class along with a deep running back class in 2023 for these rookies. And for fantasy, that's bad combination because we have no idea what that's going to look like on the field in 2023. So just some things to consider and think about when you think you're drafting, Sean Tucker to be one of your RB, the RB3 on your team. Probably not going to pan out the way that you're expecting. So just some things to kind of consider, being able to have liquidity on your team and move towards having those picks on your roster for like 2024 picks as we get towards the season, and then you can buy into the running back position when we really know how it's going to shape up. I don't know, man. Lots of questions. Even the signings that we saw today. Again, there were some good landing spots, but hey, all it takes is a rookie to get added to the mix, and you're just like, oh, this is awful. And rookies will get added to the mix. Like it's gonna happen.
I mean, the Lions are adding David Montgomery with DeAndre Swift right now.
Yep.
I mean, it's gonna get gross out here. So just be careful, be wary of this running back position. If you think you're just gonna fill out all of the depth on your roster, get a starting lineup of running backs week 1. May not be there, may not be in the cards. I think they'll get opportunity throughout the season.
For sure.
It's the running back position. Just don't expect to have your lineup locked and loaded, ready to go week 1.
Yeah, they may not be the 60% guys. They might be more the 30 to 40% guys getting carries, hopefully. So let's wrap things up here with this 4th round. We got Tucker Kraft, Mo Ibrahim, Deuce Vaughn, Puka Nacua, Sam Laporta, Raheem Jarrett, Parker Washington, Chris Rodriguez, Zach Kuntz, another big-time tight end who had a perfect RAS score out of Old Dominion. If you say you've heard of him, you probably are in C2C, but again, that's someone I need to kind of check out. Keaton Mitchell, Burner, Tank Dell, and then Max Duggan. So this 4th round feels like it's going to change a lot. I think we're going to see names pop in here based on draft capital that we're like, oh, I can't believe Trey Palmer went in the 3rd round. I got to draft him now. Yeah.
Lou Nichols gets drafted in the 6th round as the running back. I don't even know where I'm pulling Lou Nichols from. So most people may not even know that name unless they've scrolled down the sleeper board a little bit while doing some of these mocks. We'll see. It's very Prince tool to get thrown up here after somebody fell in love with watching him at the combine. So very, very fluid range. It's start season. If you're playing on a short lineup league, you're probably never going to use most of these guys. That's why they're 4th round picks. And so best ball dart throws for a lot of the tight end position. Hopefully, you're playing in a premium where you can pick up some of these guys who are going to help you out. But otherwise, just take your stab at some of your favorite guys once you get to that process.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like that's why when it comes, especially to the 4th round, I will take running back and tight end darts. And when you look at these tight ends, like Sam Laporta could easily be a starter somewhere. Tucker Kraft, Zach Kuntz, like these guys could actually be starters and give you more fantasy relevance, or at least the opportunity to flip them for a profit. Deuce Vaughn, a little iffy on. Mo Ibrahim, again, he ran hard in college. We'll see how that translates. Keaton Mitchell's a burner. So those are the guys I'm willing to take a gamble on just because the running back position does have such high turnover, injury rates, things like that. But we'll see other running backs pop in this range. We'll see some wide receivers again get taken in the 2nd round. We'll see Tutu Atwell pop up, right? Like there's going to be guys that just come out of nowhere and are like, all right, well, I guess I got to take him in the 4th. He got draft capital. It is what it is.
Yep. And then you'll probably see, we'll get all of the quarterbacks landing spots and their draft capital past quarterback 5. I mean, I don't see a world in which it's not these 5 that we see here in the 1st and 2nd round off the board in the NFL draft. But I mean, we've seen a bunch of guys start to rotate through the 4ths in these mocks. Max Duggan's the one that gets in this one. And while, I don't really like the prospect profile of Max Duggan all that much, there's been rumors going out that the Cowboys are absolutely in love with their hometown kid, Max Duggan. So maybe he goes in the 3rd and puts Dak on skates a little bit sometime next year. I don't know. But last pick of the 412, Mr. Fantasy Football Mock Draft Irrelevant. And so maybe he can take the Brock Purdy path for our fantasy football teams.
Yeah, man. We'll see about that one. But any last things you want to touch on here before we wrap out?
I don't think I got anything else. Just shout out, link in the description below for Underdog Fantasy. If you want to go over there and use that, get into the Destination Devy Discord so you can participate in the mocks like these. And now you can wrap us on out here, Chase.
Yep. Again, patreon.com/allgas to be parts of these mocks, or use that Underdog link below. Promo code TFDR at sign up. Again, you get up to $100 match. And if you do deposit $10 or more, you will get that 1 year free access to Destination Devy Discord. So thank you so much for joining us here in the Fantasy Draft Room.